Hello and welcome back to Better Know a Poet. This is our fifth episode. Today, E is for Eliot, T.S. Eliot, the great modernist poet. A man of two worlds, T.S. Eliot was born in 1888 in St. Louis, Missouri, but migrated to London, England in 1917, where he would spend the rest of his life. He was born to a well-connected, well-established New England family who offered him the best education it was possible to have during his day. In 1906, he entered Harvard University, and after receiving his BA degree in 1909, entered into the graduate program there, which was pockmarked by overseas studies in France. Eliot finished a dissertation on the philosophical works of F. H. Bradley in 1916, but never took the examinations required for his PhD due to the outbreak of World War I. His professional vocation was made up of four separate careers: editor, dramatist, literary critic, and philosophical poet. His early poems, even those he composed as an undergrad, are marked by a deep erudition and maturity, though considered very formal and conventional. In 1915, however, at the age of 27, he published The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. Here he departed from conventional poetry, and with this one work, Eliot popularized English modernist poetry. The view of Eliot as a modernist pioneer was further confirmed by his 1919 collection Poems. In this volume appeared his work Gerontion, a meditative interior monologue in blank verse. This poem was the first of its kind in English. In 1922, Eliot published The Wasteland. With this work, he was catapulted into international celebrity. In addition to his masterful poetic works, Eliot is also considered one of the great critics and dramatists of the 20th century. Though his works in other genres comes nowhere close to his brilliance as a poet, they're often considered much inferior to his poetry. Two productions are considered masterpieces of each of these genres. His 1929 book essay Dante on Dante Alighieri, and his 1935 play about the martyrdom of St. Thomas à Becket, Murder in the Cathedral. In 1948, Eliot was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature for his creative and scholarly contributions to the art form. The one great tragedy of Eliot's life was his marriage to his first wife, Vivian Hay Wood, in 1915. After nearly 20 years of marriage, Haywood became irrevocably mentally ill. They separated in 1933, and in 1957, Eliot married Valerie Fletcher, with whom he lived happily until his death. Eliot's poetry is marked by a number of uniquenesses, but the most important is that of its imagistic quality. Borrowed from the French school, Eliot's poetic imagism helped him to craft poems that are a blend of seemingly disparate, fragmented images. Underneath these, however, reside a unifying central theme. And the poem I'm going to read for today is part of this from this Imagist school. It's one of his lesser well-known ones. This is not anything from The Wasteland or any of his longer works. This is one of his shorter Imagist poems, and it is called Sweeney Among the Nightingales. It's a really fun poem, and I'll be honest, I really don't love contemporary poetry. I really don't love fragmented poetry, but I love Eliot. I love Eliot and authors like him, like Ezra Pound, who were sort of the pioneers of modernist poetry. And I think that's because that they were able to establish formal conventions, right? They knew all the formal conventions and they could work in them before going to the modernist fragmented poetry. And I think that's what made their modernism so good. So this is Sweeney Among the Nightingales. Ape-neck Sweeney spreads his knees, letting his arms hang down to laugh, the zebra stripes along his jaw, swelling to maculate giraffe. The circles of the stormy moon slide westward toward the river plate. Death and the raven drift above, and Sweeney guards the horned gate. Gloomy Orion and the dog are veiled and hushed the shrunken seas. The person in the Spanish cape tries to sit on Sweeney's knees. Slips and pulls the tablecloth, overturns a coffee cup. Reorganized upon the floor, she yawns and draws a stocking up. The silent man in mocha brown sprawls at the windowsill and gapes. The waiter brings in oranges, banana figs, and hothouse grapes. The silent vertebrate in brown contracts and concentrates, withdraws. Rachel Ney Rabinovich tears at the grapes with murderous paws. She and the lady in the cape are suspect, thought to be in league. Therefore the man with heavy eyes declines the gambit, shows fatigue, leaves the room and reappears outside the window, leaning in. Branches of wisteria circumscribe a golden grin. The host with someone indistinct converses at the door apart. The nightingales are singing near the convent of the Sacred Heart, and sang within the bloody wood when Agamemnon cried aloud, and let their liquid siftings fall to stain the stiff, dishonored shroud. Very fascinating poem. And what you have here is Eliot is telling a story. It really is um, a uniform story, but it's just filled with just different sort of collage-like images and references to mythology. So no one is described literally. They're all described through image and symbol, which is what Imagism does. So that's Eliot, and I'll see you tomorrow for F.